You just came back from Boulder, though, right? I mean, you were just there. What was that day and night like, Bruce Feldman?
Yeah, again, this was not our game, the big noon game. So it wasn't like there was a game right after. There was no game right after. Right. They played, late that night.
Yes, they did.
Both our show and College Game Day were there. Now, we were not like in the same location, so you're not seeing the other crowd. But it was interesting because we had Gronk come in. Gronk obviously works at Fox now, and he came in to have a pre-show party. And it was funny. He flew in the middle of the night from Florida, and he rolls in like 10 minutes before we were promoting the heck out of this. Mm-hmm. Him and Lil Wayne are going to be, it's their party. Mm-hmm. And Gronk's like, I've never started partying at 7 a.m. I've been partying at 7 a.m., but I've never started at 7 a.m. And that distinction, with the difference, he was awesome. The crowd was amazing. Lil Wayne was phenomenal. It was a great atmosphere. Deion did both shows. And I remember when he came over, he was Deion. Deion's fantastic on camera. And it was funny because, we don't get to see College Game Day. Mm-hmm. It's on the opposite, we're working or whatever. And I remember, so I have a hit in our show that was in the second hour. Mm-hmm. And, you're in the middle of the crowd and you feel good. And then somebody said to me, he goes, Deion, I think, was with The Rock at the same time you were on. And I was like, I was about to say, how was he? But I was like, Deion's always good on camera. He's great on camera. So
right.
Whatever.
Of course. And so it was just a festival, right? It was a festival, and then a brawl kind of broke out that night,
Yeah. So the game, normally Colorado State, and it's not that Colorado State is great this year or anything like that. So they get in, and Jay Norvell, who's normally a pretty low-key guy, he had some comments, obviously, about the hat and sunglasses, and unlike the previous weeks where Colorado players had brought up something Matt Rule had said in the offseason, or maybe Kendall Briles, the TCU coach, and how it was personal. This actually was personal, I think, to Deion.
He had his mother deliver the speech to the team beforehand, and yes, it was personal.
So it was going to get nasty. And I remember, and obviously there was a bunch of stuff that happened in that game. There was a lot of penalties. Obviously, the hit on Travis Hunter that was late. I remember texting a couple of my buddies from Big Noon and be like, this is going to have a bench clearing brawl. You could just kind of feel it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it didn't get to that point.
Right.
But the emotions were swirling so bad. Part of this is what we love about college football and football in general. And I think that, there was elements of where it felt a little like a big hockey game kind of thing, where it was like Avalanche Red Wings kind of thing. And it's like, okay, I know this is a rivalry, but there was so much hype around the game and that day. And then it's like festering from our shows end at noon Eastern, 10 o'clock local. And then there's like basically almost 12 hours later they're playing.
Yes.
So just that whole emotional swing, it's just like then the TV rating of the game comes in. It's almost 10 million viewers. And 10 million viewers for like a Pac-12 after dark game when it doesn't even involve two Pac-12 schools. It's insane.
This is why I told you, and we've been having this conversation. It feels like it's a little bit of Groundhog Day, but it is the story of sports right now. It truly is 100%, even with the first 2 weeks in the NFL being underway, because it does mix so many pop culture aspects of the world together, along with professional and collegiate sports. And it's Deion, he's at the cross-section of it, that if this had happened 2 years ago, the Pac-12 might have been able to look at UCLA and USC in the eyes and say, we got this. And everyone would be falling. Television networks would be falling all over themselves to have the Pac-12 contract.
It's
for sure.
The tentacles of this are unreal to see. I mean, we talked about this the other day. I did a story on his business manager.
Yeah.
And it ran on The Athletic.
Yeah.
Today, it is the entire front page of the New York Times sports section. The entire front page is that. It's
Constance Schwartz Marie.
And
she deserves it. It's Stray too. I mean, it's not just Deion for her.
No, it's not. But it's just like this shows you the scope and how hot Deion is. 60 Minutes does a piece on Deion. They, coming off of the games, people cannot get enough of it. Now, college football fans, diehards, I think are like kind of over it, and I think a little to the same degree of like old Notre Dame, and to somewhat maybe even 90s and 80s Miami, where I think people are tuning in hoping to see them lose, because I think they're just, but I think there is a big portion of those fans, but they want to watch. They cannot not watch.
That's what Deion's been about. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.